By the way, just while we're waiting for the setup to finish, can everybody also just take some time to fill in their evaluation forms on the event as well and hand them back in to Chloe or at the desk on your way after the end of the event. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much. Good afternoon, everybody. I know everybody's tired, probably excited to be home. I have to tell you I'm excited too. I'm here in Chicago for the very first time. I'm loving the city so far. But it's not only my first time in the city, it's also my first time in this type of event in this side of the room. I'm usually sitting where you are, taking my notes, raising my hand, and being quiet sometimes. And I received a beautiful invitation to speak here, and it was nice. It's a challenge, I have to admit, a little bit nerve-wracking. I'm a little nervous, so please bear with me. It's my first time again. But excited to open my mind and actually put my thoughts together and speak to people that I admire and I look up to because of your experience in the field, and it's just beautiful. We kind of have like the same color coding in presentation right now. We're going to continue with that. So again, my name is Susana Illera Martinez. I am the packaging designer and packaging manager for Kirch Foods. By the way, this is more than a workplace for me. It just feels like family. I've been with the company for 12 years. And by the way, this year, in 2017, we are celebrating 50 years. So happy anniversary to us. Let me tell you a couple facts about Kirch, that way you get to know us a little better. We are a food distributor, importer, and exporter of food from all over the world. We've been established in 1967. This is a family-owned business, and our company serves mainly southeast of the United States, also the Caribbean and South America. We export a lot, but we also import a lot of food. Our customers are, for example, independent supermarkets, other food retailers, we have restaurants, we have cruise lines, and everything in the food service and the retail business, right? Our headquarters are located in Miami, another beautiful city that we live where everybody goes for vacation. So it's summer all year and I love it. More than welcome to join us. And we also have offices here in Chicago, in Atlanta, Orlando, and San Juan, Puerto Rico. And a very important detail, I mean, we do a lot of purchasing overseas. We bring most of our food and our food products from other countries, and we have over 50 years, obviously, like I was saying, and experience in purchasing. And because of this experience, we were able to build several product lines with different categories, like different proteins, like beef, poultry, frozen vegetables, and also seafood. Today we're going to speak about one of these brands that are our private labels, basically. And this is probably my favorite brand, but don't tell the others because I care for them. It's called Panama seafood. Well, Panama, that word is kind of like weird. It's not from Panama, it's not from the country like that. It comes from a Latin term, litopenaus Panamei. I don't know if I'm even pronouncing it correctly. Anyone knows what that is? No? You probably had that for dinner last night. It's just a species, the most common species of shrimp in the Eastern Pacific Ocean. The name comes from that, but that's the magic with brands, right? They can have like a deep meaning or mean absolutely nothing, and it's everything about the marketing that we put behind it, and it's absolutely exciting. Panama started in 2006 as the need for the company to provide our customers, other retailers, with seafood products already packaged for retail markets. And we started with very few items, just kind of like the top sellers, shrimp, fish fillets as well. If you put yourselves kind of like 10 years ago, the awareness for seafood was not as it is right now. I mean, people were kind of like scared of cooking, and right now with all these tasty videos and cooking shows and all these chefs doing these competitions, everybody kind of like feels like they can do something about it, and it also brought a lot of knowledge about seafood. And it grew the attention, it grew the awareness, and it also helped us grow the brand as well. So we started adding more products, more packaging, And exactly at that moment, my beautiful adventure and also my nightmare kind of like began. And why do I say that it's an adventure and also a nightmare? I mean, we're gonna talk about what is managing consistency in a very inconsistent world. Some people call it diverse. That's a very common word right now, right? But diversity is just beautiful. You just have to embrace it. And the fact that we are with the possibility of keeping in touch with more than 500 suppliers around the world is amazing. But let's talk about this for a little bit. This was Panama's first design. It was so simple, like just a clear bag with a paper header. What can go wrong? I mean, probably absolutely nothing. It's so simple. Well, that's what I thought. I thought that it was not going to be a big issue to produce a packaging like that, but it actually became a big deal. Because again, we bring products from every part of the world. I mean, shrimp is a good example here. It can come from India, from Indonesia, from Thailand, from Vietnam. And what does it mean for the packaging manager? Well, it means that, first of all, I have to apologize. If someone here speaks or understands those languages, I use Google Translate, and I know that sometimes can be a little bit off, but the point is that language is a big barrier, and we all have to be acknowledged of that. And when it comes to these technical specifications and details about everything that you want to achieve for packaging specifically, you may have all written down and all the specifications kind of like in your mind and explained correctly, but again, there's always room for misunderstanding. Let's talk about color, for example. Color, you may say, I mean, we were talking about Pantone colors. Come on, use Pantone colors, use these color codings here and there. It's a possibility, I know. It's not that I don't know how to use Pantones. I'm a graphic designer as well. But it's also that the fact that you communicate this situation. Again, our company had the headquarters here in Miami, and we had to talk to our seafood suppliers. I don't get to talk to the printing company. Right now I do, but before, 10 years ago, I didn't have this direct contact. I will have to talk to the seafood suppliers. And for them, it was not the same language, definitely. So it was like, okay, so reflex blue? Okay, sure. And then one day my supplier of seafood called me to try to convince me to accept the bags that he received from his printing company because they came up with a better color. I'm like, okay, so that's a nice opinion, but that is not reflex blue, of course. Don't even get me started with fonts. I mean, it's just crazy how they interpret one thing and then just, when you're not in the same page. And you bet I have like 100 stories like this. And again, it's been 10 years since Panama made the appearance, and also kind of like coincides with the time that I've been with the company. This is how the seafood line looks right now, 10 years after its launch. And it's a big difference if you ask me, but it's also a big challenge. It's a combination of a lot of things that had happened. And today we're going to talk a little bit about these challenges that are all fascinating, because sourcing packaging from around the world can bring a few things. First of all, you're dealing with multiple suppliers in multiple countries. That gives you a struggle in communication. It's not only the language, I mean, it's not Spanish, Portuguese, Chinese, Vietnamese. It's also the difference in culture that you have to respect, the time change. The holidays that they observe around the world are different, and we have to kind of like put that into consideration, and it can become a barrier. Because of this change of country, you also have different technologies that are available. For example, we all know that in the East, rotogravure is more common, more easy to find, and then in the West, we have more flexography. And I'm not necessarily saying that one is better than the other one, it's just you have to acknowledge the difference. And it gives you different results, and it also gives you a different budget and schedule, because you cannot keep those consistency. Minimum orders represent one thing with one technology and from the other one, right? And then we have an interesting factor here. Because if you're packing toys or umbrellas or DVDs, and you have to deal with repacking or changing or waiting, they may go out of style, but they're not gonna go bad. And for us, this is a big challenge because we pack food products, and it may help that our products are mostly frozen in this category specifically, but still, I mean, it can hurt the quality of the product if you have to make a decision of reject the packaging that has already product in it. Not only that, it's also going to affect your itineraries, your inventories, and it also hurts a little bit the relationship that we have with our suppliers, because again, I'm talking to the seafood supplier that is going to say, but this is more pretty than Reflex Blue. Let's talk about another challenge that I love it so much that I have to give a separate slide for that. This is label compliance. And this is a language that we're all forced to speak, right? It's not that oh, let me learn this language here. No, we all have to speak about this. And of course, sometimes we go to the store, like Fernanda was saying, we go to the store as designers and packaging people, and we read the labels, we pay attention to so many things that regular consumers don't. And don't you find kind of like wondering, how is that brand doing or getting away with having a label so clean? And then I go back to my drawing board and I present this beautiful clean design to my QA department. I love them, by the way. I wish they were here. But boy, they give you trouble. And then you as a designer see all these claims and all these warnings and all these nutrition things. You cannot put that sodium thing. You can have to remove that all natural. And you're like, you see everything as a design element that somehow you have to accommodate in the packaging with a minimum font. And it's definitely something difficult to deal with. And if you're also bringing into consideration the fact that we are bringing products from around the world, even though we're selling the products here in the United States, we're importing. So we have to also consider the country of origin, because if you find out after your bags are printed or something is already done, that you have to put a plant number or something that was a requirement for the country of origin, it's going to be just a costly mistake and a crazy thing to deal with after. So you have to also speak that language as well. I have a challenge that is a beautiful one, actually, because again, I was talking about my company being a family business, a family-owned business. That we have to admit, we have a family heart, and that gives us a different drive, a different mentality of doing things. I mean, like biggest corporations, I mean, have like somebody hired to be a director of marketing or design, and somebody that is going to be the board of directors is going to be elected members and things like that in a publicly owned company. But in a family company, you have people looking, when you're presenting a concept, when you're dealing with this type of internal decisions, they are people that have been part of the company and have been actually sweat and bring the company where it is right now. I mean, that same drive helped the company skyrocket sales and become what it is right now. I mean, we were almost at 2 billion in sales. That for a company that is family-owned and start from delivering meat in a little truck to be talking to you and saying that, oh, now we have like a fleet of trucks of more than 150, it's great. It feels great. But again, it is a challenge, because then we also want to think about the other companies that we work for example, our seafood suppliers. From the human side, from the family side, and we think about it, and it's like, but why are we gonna reject the packaging? Poor people. And you're like, because the color is not Reflex Blue, and they want we want to be part of that decision also made from the human heart. So it's beautiful. It's still a corporation, and it's still a roller coaster. For me, it's just a ride that is worth to be right there, and I won't miss it for anything. So at this point you may be thinking, is this woman going to stand there and talk about her issues and her problems for half an hour? First of all, no complaining. I love everything I do, and especially because the adrenaline that it gives me and the drama and the stress, it gets paid off when I see my products coming to life and you see them in the store, and then you go, oh, that is my baby, and it's like you gave birth to your own child, and you enjoy just by looking at the results when they're good. And they're bad, I mean, you just have to learn. And I'm here also to share that as part of that 10-year adventure with Paname, I also kind of like got a little of method for everything that is being a challenge to me. So let's talk about the solutions, because I always say that the solution starts from you. And every company, small or big, food or toys or whatever it is, has a different situation, and every person has a different solution and different method that has to be applied. Not everything can be written down, but at least you have to figure it out for yourself. And this is what I came up with for my solutions. So if you remember, the first of the challenges was dealing with multiple suppliers around the world. So one of the solutions can be finding a centralized supplier for your company packaging needs. If that sounds impossible because, again, one for the entire world is too complicated, maybe at least try to find one per region. That helps a lot to alleviate the communication struggle. And once you find one or a handful or centralized companies to work with, try to speak also the same language with them. What that is, again, I'm not talking about Spanish or Vietnamese. I am talking about speaking the language with the right person within that company that you're speaking to. For example, if you're negotiating cost, if you are dealing with quantities, if you're trying to figure out the delivery, it's okay that you speak to the salesperson. I mean, they know that and they can assist you. But whenever you're going to the stage of talking about the packaging and the dot gain and the Pantone colors and the die line and where's it gonna be the eye and this and that, try to speak to the person in the art department or the pre-press department that is gonna understand better than the sales guy. It's kind of like keeping the language with the appropriate member of the team. Another solution that to me, it pays a lot, also with the plus, because I love to travel, is that if you go and visit those plants, if you go and visit your packaging supplier, wherever they are, I mean, it is a great thing. I mean, not only they're gonna value and appreciate the fact that you're taking your time and trying to learn more about the country that they are, also the visiting the facility and seeing that place in motion is also gonna give you kind of like more ideas of what else they have to offer. Maybe you find that they have another solution that you've never thought of, and you were just quoting this type of packaging, and it turns out that there's something better for you. And only when you go and see it for yourself is that you're gonna try to come up with this. And again, if you don't get to meet them in person, at least try to establish anyway a relationship. Try to be on the phone with them and be personal. And also, kind of like don't wait for the mistakes to happen. Send them samples and be very specific of what you want. If you say, okay, this is exactly what I need, or it could be, this is what I don't need, that if they have a hand of that, I mean, you're gonna get better results. So again, in this beautiful adventure and nightmare, I also came up with this 5-step plan, if you wanna call it that way. I have learn, apply, protect, measure results, and repeat. So let's talk about learn. Learn and research about the production process. This is very important, and it's not only learning about the packaging, but also what is packaged. For me, it's awesome. I love food, so I don't have a problem getting to know a little more of my products. I mean, I have the opportunity to visit seafood plants and see how they work. For example, if it's a plant that works automatically, or maybe they pack their fillets by hands, that is also going to depend on the country where they are located. And the more you know about them, you're going to know if you're going to make their lives miserable or you're gonna probably help them a little bit just by learning how are they doing things, how are they processing things. And this is not applied in general. And in my case, every product in my category is different and gets packaged different, and I have to keep that in mind. Then with this learning, after learning, you have to also apply and create procedures and protocols. This is very important because, again, you cannot rely on your memory all the time. I'm very good at storing all this information and kind of like know everything from every aspect of my company. I know a lot of QA. I know what my QA person is gonna tell me before they tell me. I know a little bit of purchasing, I know a little bit of sales. It's like get involved with other departments and create a procedure based on that, and make sure everybody follows the protocols. And then, this is very important because the only way to protect your work is also to test and to prove it, right? So if you have a feeling that something may go wrong with this that you are trying to invent, it's better just to follow your heart and just test it, because it's better to find out about mistakes or problems beforehand when you are testing something and not after it's already done and packaged. And then try to document not only the success but also the mistakes, because 10 years from now somebody's also going to appreciate the fact that there's a sequence of errors and trials and mistakes that got documented, and that's going to prevent future mistakes as well. And then measure results. This is really important. I mean, like, again, it's about trying to put a number and on the sequence of successes and failures, because that's the only way that you're gonna realize if something is happening correctly or if there's something that you have to change in the way that you're doing things. So you have to put a number to the results that you're receiving. That way you can get a better feedback and you can improve it later. And then we have repeat. Of course, like the movie, right? Then you wake up and it's everything keep doing the same, unless there's something to correct, right? So you keep improving, go back to the learning process all the time, never stop learning, and always keep it up. And this is really important too. Share your knowledge. I mean, don't try to be that selfish individual in your corporation that don't want to say anything to anybody because they're going to steal my job or something like that. Share your knowledge with members of your team, of your corporation, and not only within your organization, also share your knowledge with people from outside your company, because you can learn from others and teach others, like I'm trying to do now, and I hope my stories and my adventures are like interesting for you, or at least like fun to hear. So thank you so much. You have